Nithin, can I ask you to introduce Kailash? Don't use Zerodha, don't use technology in it.
K, as we call him, is like my spiritual guru.
Kailash, you want to do the introductions?
So he's super handsome, obviously. I've even made a website for him, worldsmosthandsomebroker.com.
Why don't you talk a bit about Zerodha, the early days?
The way it started was Nikhil had joined, and Nikhil was a better trader than I was. I anyways had this kida of talking about markets. So I asked a bunch of these brokers, and they said, dude, what are you smoking? I mean, who starts a broking firm in Bangalore?
Abid came and said, oh, there's this person called Nithin Bhai. He runs this small firm. And I looked up the website. It's a terrible website. It's an unknown broker. And I kept on telling Abid, this is probably a really bad idea.
So we've got two very interesting people here. One is a co-founder of Zerodha, Nithin, and the other is a CTO of Zerodha, Kailash. There are far more interesting dimensions and interesting side to them. And I would rather talk a bit about that before we talk about Zerodha. And to do justice to the introduction, Nithin, can I ask you to introduce Kailash? You both have known each other for over 10 years, right? Don't use Zerodha in it, okay? Don't use technology in it.
Okay.
And tell us about things that we don't know about Kailash otherwise.
So K, as we call him, is like my spiritual guru. So he's like, so I have something called a K filter in my life. So before I do anything, I'm like, how is K gonna judge me? My wife thinks he's like my second wife. So where I care so much about what he thinks about me. So, but I think some of the things that the world doesn't know about him is how materially how content he is. I haven't ever seen him wanting to buy something in his life, which is just ridiculous because it becomes really hard to gift him anything. The last thing I gifted him on his birthday was an Apple Watch, which he gave away to someone because he thought it's not very useful, And other than that, he cares quite a bit about free and open source. He cares quite a bit about climate. He and Deepa, his wife, I think they're like made for each other. I have a feeling, I keep telling Deepa that he's done some kind of a black magic because she just believes in everything he says.
It's not true.
So that's him outside, I think the best technologies that I know in my life.
Kailash, you want to do the introductions?
Yeah, I think that introduction had some thinly veiled criticism also. I don't know if... So he's super handsome, obviously. I've even made a website for him, worldsmosthandsomebroker.com. And things that people don't know about him, perhaps everyone already knows, but he's extremely intelligent and he's a person with immense amounts of depth. And I think he has this genetic inability to displease people. So he'll never be angry with anyone, no matter how many times you commit a certain mistake, for example. He's just extremely overly, genuinely nice. It's not a face that he puts up. So, yeah, these are the qualities that I most admire about him. He's extremely kind, extremely intelligent, and has insane foresight. And that's very well known. So, yeah.
Wow.
And again, super handsome.
I'm like, that's too much of ego boost for a day.
But I'm very vocal and open about this when people ask. Yeah.
So this thing about Kailash that you spoke about, Nithin, so I remember I had never met and never known Kailash. I don't know who introduced us, but we did a call in 2020 in the middle of pandemic. And that was the first time I spoke to Kailash. And the way he spoke about his consumption, right, and his approach to consumptive sort of material things in life, so totally resonated with me. I'm that person, okay? And I know that my son will constantly sort of get mad at me that you don't buy, you don't consume. And I sometimes feel guilty that, I'm spending money that can be spent better somewhere, even within my limited means. And so that was one of the reasons why, Kailash and I just kept talking for multiple reasons. And then
No, I mean, I think, just to add on there, I think, I started my life as a trader, wanting, like if you came to my bedroom when I was 11 standard, when I started trading, I had all these material things I want to buy in my life, right?
And what were they? At
I mean,
11, huh?
11 standard, so 17.
Okay.
Right? Like there was a Breitling watch, there was a Porsche 911, there was like this house with swimming pool, and like bunch of things. And I also I have a lot of hobbies. So I also had I want to be 100th of Mark Knopfler as a guitar. I want to do my Ironman in this much time. So those goals also were there. But then I think the realization very quickly was that materially, I think hanging around with him, I think the reason I call him a guru is that this whole realization that you can't really buy happiness. If you're not happy without it, you can never be happy with it, because there's always a better watch, there's always a better car. And I think that contentment of materially that he has, I think just hanging around him has, I think, not just me, I think a lot of people on the core team, be it Nikhil, be it, a lot of us have become like him. And, we question, every time we're going on a holiday, if this holiday is required, if I'm buying something, do you really need this? And I wasn't like this, It's not like...
Tell us a bit about the years that you remember, like 17-year-old, aspiring for all these things, and you come from a typical middle-class family.
Right.
What was it like to dream about some of these fancy things that middle-class Indians at that point of time kind of really didn't think very highly of? And what were the kind of challenges that you faced at that point of time?
I mean, see, the thing is, I think every 17-year-old would have probably dreamt becoming rich. It's not like I was being unique, wanting to be rich and having enough money, so I don't think those dreams were anything unique. Just background-wise, my dad was in the bank, so he took us around the country, and then I came to Bangalore. So we were in North India, we were in a place called Karnal near Haryana. So I think coming to Bangalore, was the first time I actually got exposed to like rich friends, people with multiple cars, etc. So maybe that influence was probably how, at 17 I had if I was in Karnal, would I have cared about Porsche? I probably would not have even known what a Porsche is, in the sense. And there was no internet access, etc. Right? So what you're seeing is what you see in real life. And so I think I got hooked to trading because it felt like the easiest way to become rich, which is flawed, right? As in, there's something that I, keep telling everyone that, this whole wanting to get rich quickly is, a lot of people think it's easy to make money in the markets. It's just so easy to open a trading account. Nothing else is easy about it. And so I think my dad and mom both are generally, enterprising of sorts. And my mom is actually super enterprising. I mean, through my childhood, she's been teaching Veena and vocal, Carnatic vocal. In North India, she was trying to do some business because there was no one who wanted to learn Veena and Carnatic in North India. Then she opened a flower shop. So I used to take the flowers, go to Wipro, on every Monday and Wednesday mornings, and you see these flower arrangements, etc. In the offices, right? And then she used to make incense. So she's done. So I think genetically there was some business in the family, even though I come from this whole South Indian, a Brahmin kind of a background. And my dad tried business, something in real estate, picked up the worst timing, because he decided to do it in the mid-90s and, kind of lost a bunch of money. But I think the best thing in my family has been that my mom and dad, both for me and Nikhil, just have supported in every stupidity that we have done. I think I set up very low benchmarks, so it became easier for Nikhil. So when I decided to start trading, they gave me some money. When I decided to, because for trading you need capital, so I started doing multi-level marketing. I started working, back in the day in Bangalore, there was this, weekender, etc., right? Where you could go work on the weekends, selling, like a store, we sell clothes, etc. So I've done all of that, and they were like absolutely supportive, even though my, extended family was having mega concerns about, like him not going and studying and doing all these random things in life. And I think eventually you're what you experience in your life, right? I think what K has, the programming, ability to build products on your own, etc., is a super human skill set today. Right? If you don't have it, I think the other skill set you need in today's world is, to be ability to be able to sell. And
ability to
sell, just okay. Sales skills is important, because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, what am I? I'm a storyteller. Right? I'm constantly selling. If I'm sitting here or I'm projecting something, it's essentially a sales pitch.
So Nithin, drifting from one thing to another, stock trading, call center job, doing odd things here and there, I'm sure there were phases of low moments where you felt lost as a young sort of man or young boy. Maybe one or two such moments in your life when you felt lost, and we all go through those phases. Now, when you look back, what helped you bounce back from that?
No, I think family support, like just my mom and dad's being around, and because I sometimes wonder if they were really hard on me, would I have actually stuck around doing what I did? And probably not. So it's just I think it was super important. Two is, I think, like just doing something that you really like doing, right? If trading, markets, etc. was is something that I'm really passionate about. Now, if I was not doing that, and say I was some pharma product that I don't care about, would I have really come back and want to do it? I don't, usually a lot of times, when young people come today, they value what I advise. I don't know why, but and I usually say, I think the idea in life is to probably find something that you love to do early in life. Then life becomes so much more easier. Even if you go through tough times, you're enjoying it in a way, right? Because you're doing something that you love to do. But the thing is, very hard for people to find what you love to do itself, right? As in, that's itself hitting a lottery in life. Yeah. And so today I have a son who's 8 years old, 9 years old, and my thing with him is to get him to try as many things in life, so he can eventually hopefully find something he loves to do early in life. And I think these two things,
Sure.
And then, I think Nikhil joined by 2005, 2006, he joined. And and then you have like a brother in crime, right? As in the sense, it becomes easier when you have like a partner, actually, So.
Kailash, what about you? You grew up in a small town in Calicut, right?
Yeah.
And what was teenage years like for you, especially the 10th, 11th, 12th? And I know that you started coding much earlier in life.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about those days there.
I think very different experience from what Nithin had. I was always a tinkerer, and what he just said about finding that one thing in life that you really enjoy unconditionally, that's finding purpose. So I'm extremely lucky that from my earliest memory, I remember having a liking for tinkering.
Okay.
And in the early 90s, as a child, as a young kid, I always liked tinkering. Be tinkering with little gadgets, science experiments. And I was constantly building and tweaking things at home. Little machines.
One thing that you did, something bizarre, like?
I can remember many. One would be a mechanical vacuum cleaner with a tiny little DC motor salvaged out of some. It wasn't. There was no vacuum. It had a paper fan that swept dust in. It was a little prototype, but I enjoyed it unconditionally. Then I'd get bored with that. Then I'd move on to something else. So I think by the time I was in my sixth standard or fifth standard, I was an active participant in all electronics competitions, science fairs, which continued until my teenage years. So I enjoyed it unconditionally. Every day I'd wake up with that urge to, tinker with something. And there was no computers back then. And by this sheer mad coincidence, we got a personal computer when I was in the 7th standard. I think it was the year 2000. And getting a personal computer in a borderline middle class or lower middle class family is one of those black swan events. And I don't want to delve deep into how, etc., that happened, but that happened. And that was a turning point. So tinkering with little mechanical things, it was very natural for me to transpose that into the virtual realm. Whatever you felt like you could do. And I didn't know the concept of coding or programs or software because there was no background. Just happened to have access to a personal computer. But eventually...
Not internet?
no internet yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then, and we had no concept. I'd never used a graphical, pointing device, which is a mouse up until that point. So there's no background or context. And in the year 2000, in a small town like Calicut, there's no ecosystem. There's nothing. Very few people even had personal computers back then, right? So then after a few months, I stumbled upon the idea that you could tweak things and achieve different outcomes, which was really coding. You have a computer and you can control it. You can tweak a little thing. It makes a difference. And I didn't even really understand it, but I was already doing it. And then things just progressed. I weaned off my tinkering with physical gadgets and hardware devices, and software just made absolute sense. I could wake up, envision whatever, I could try it out right there. There's zero barrier, right? Hardware, there's always barrier. There's a physical barrier. And that's what happened. By the time I was in 8th standard, I was writing software, and we had dial-up internet by 8th standard. 8 kbps, terrible internet, but it was absolutely magical. And perhaps the early years of internet, the 90s were the absolute early years of the internet, but the 2000s were the next era. And things were just warming up. So I got to be a part of that. And I look at it extremely nostalgically. That really made me as a person. So I started writing software. I started copying code from the internet and tweaking it and building it and pushing it back. And when others used little things that I built, that was immensely satisfying. A few years later, I realized that this whole thing was called the open source movement. But I was doing it before I even understood its philosophies, etc. It just made sense. How else do you learn, right? You have to copy stuff that others have built. So as a teenager, I was writing software. I think by the time I was 16 or 17, in 2002, I'd built this blogging platform, open source, and it was one of the earliest blogging platforms on the World Wide Web. Mm-hmm. And it had grown quite massive. And I was building
What is it called?
It was called B Machine.
Okay.
And it had grown big, perhaps the second biggest platform. I think it came before WordPress. WordPress is a globally renowned, massive blogging platform. And this was used by hundreds of thousands of people and institutions globally. And I was building it sitting out of my little bedroom in Calicut. But I didn't really understand things that happened in the periphery. How to become an entrepreneur, how to take it to the next level. I just enjoyed building it and putting it out there. So that's what I did throughout my teenage and even in my early 20s. I'd get excited, I'd build something, I'd publish it there, lots of people would use it, and I'd derive immense satisfaction. And by the time I had 17, I was also making a living doing freelance software consulting online. So I had an income, small, modest income. And that also had just naturally happened. So my entire teenage years and my early 20s, even when I was in the university, it was all spent on tinkering and writing software and pushing it out there. And I was absolutely addicted. 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day, would never feel tired. So extremely productive.
What were dreams about for you growing up in a small place? And locus of inspiration, was that internal to you, or were you able to sort of find inspiration outside in the world?
I think it was very internal. So I had no goals. I still have no goals. This is something we keep talking about. No grand goals in life, just going with the flow and doing something that I enjoy doing. I guess earlier I had this abstract goal of wanting to make a difference in the world. But then I think over the last decade, I've realized that even that as a goal that you want to check off is problematic.
Okay.
So I have that innate drive to perhaps make a difference, but it's not really a goal that I'm looking up to. So I just focus on what I can do right now or tomorrow and hope that that makes a small difference. So apart from that abstract goal, I never really had any goals. I never had any material goals or even like a career goal. I just wanted to tinker. And that's what I'm still doing. But yeah.
So basically what I'm hearing from you is do what you enjoy doing. And that road will take you to a place which probably
I think all these hobbies and doing what you like, taking some satisfaction out of small little things, will become a lot more important, I think, over time. But yeah, but what you said is absolutely right. And what Kay was just talking about, not having goals, I think, like, even though we're very different as people, I think this is something, like, personally also realization after trading the markets for a long period of time. The thing about trading is, when you trade the markets, you want to make X amount of money in Y amount of time, right? And you're constantly, as long as you set these goals, right, you're trying to optimize everything that you're doing in your life to get to that goal. And those money goals, you always end up compromising on something.
They're arbitrary.
Yeah.
Any concrete goal is arbitrary. I want to get to X in the next 2 years, but that's out of our control. So
yeah. So as a trader also, like, I think, like, the time when I got better as a trader was when you said, what, I don't want to make 50,000 rupees a month. Let me get up and do bunch of these 10 things right. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And that's really how we run the business as well, right? And that's why, I think the core team at Zerodha, all of us, we philosophically, I think very similarly, and that's why, we've stuck around, we're enjoying what we're doing, and etc.
Why don't you talk a bit about Zerodha, the early days, and when you both met? Was it, which year was it, 2011?
2012 we met. Yeah.
Correct. And I'm sure you were at very different places and very different kind of people.
Right.
I would love to hear this. I don't know. What was the first impression about each other?
Yeah. Right. So Zerodha started in 2010. The way it started was Nikhil had joined, and Nikhil was a better trader than I was. So it didn't make sense for two people to sit and trade. So he said, why don't Nikhil continue trading and I'll give a shot at building a broker that we didn't have as traders. And I anyways had this kida of, building these communities and, like, talking about markets, etc. online. So I thought I was anyways naturally skilled at that. So it made more sense for me to do that. So 2010 we started. It was on top of vendor products, right? As in, there was no tech until he came, right? As in,
And you were based in Bangalore, which was a tech hub.
Yeah,
And the startup was very little.
It didn't matter, even like Bangalore was just accidental, right? As in, my dad got transferred to Bangalore. There was no tech. I didn't know how to do. I probably could do some Excel formulas, and that's the only tech. The reason Zerodha as an idea could even take off was because the National Stock Exchange back then was giving a free day trading platform for anyone who becomes a broker in India, right? Because if you want to be a stockbroker, you have two important pieces of technologies, right? One is your trading platform, and another one what is called as a back office platform. A back office platform maintains ledgers, does trade process, etc. So now the trading platform was for free. The question we asked was there a way to disrupt pricing, right? And I think I was probably the first guy to spot as an opportunity. And that spotting as an opportunity also is because of all the curiosity of trying out different platforms. I don't think anyone in this country actually had tried out NSE Now in the platform before I did, right? So it was almost like an arbitrage trade, isn't like, if this is available for free, can you bring down the pricing? And yeah, so that's how Zerodha started. We didn't have too much money on the table, so we really went and picked up what we can get at the lowest cost. So our first back office vendor was really the guy who gave it to us for free of cost, and he said, can you beta test it? I was just talking to the guy, who built our website back then. The only real cost we spent money was refurbishing the office that we had. I was a sub-broker with Reliance back then, and this website, and so we started 2012. The first competitor came around the scene, who essentially copy-pasted everything that we were doing, and that's when, I haven't really read business books or, a lot of this reading has happened in the last 5-6 years. When Zerodha happened, it was just, I was spending most of my trading the markets, and then, so I used to read books on trading. It was never about building businesses. Okay. So all of these were learnings along the way, right? As in, so 2012, the first competitor came around the scene, and then a realization was that, it can't be a moat, just this low cost and being transparent can't be a moat. You need to have something else. And that's when the idea was, in that movie X-Men, right? if you can't be the X-Men, be friends with one, right? As in, I mean, these are the only two guys who will survive, right? As in, and that's when a realization kicked in, saying, technologists are going to be the future, and so I decided to invest to be friends in a way, right? And did 2-3 investments, went nowhere, but Abid, and K.
Sensible,
right?
He was my school senior from Calicut. It's a whole series of coincidences.
Yeah, I mean, so I think K came back, was planning to do something. Abid gave this idea of Sensible in the original avatar. And they somehow decided to work out of Banagata Road, right in front of our office. So, and Abid someday saw the board Zerodha and decided to walk into the office. And the day he decided to walk in, I was walking out. So we met, said hi. If I had not decided to walk out, maybe I would not have met him and said hi. And, but yeah, a lot of happenstances. And
that's when you met K.
Yeah. Because at that point of time, we were thinking of new products, how to get, like Hangman was the, like the low-hanging product. So, and yeah, K had it ready in like, I don't know, in like a week's time or 10 days time. I thought it would be like take long amounts of time. And just that small little Hangman game was built so well. And that's how, we started talking, and somehow we convinced him to join Zerodha. I mean, see, the thing is, he's as much as a co-founder in the business as me. It's just, he doesn't like to be called because he joined in 2012-13. One day, I got Vishnu on our team to actually update the profile as CTO co-founder and on our website, and he got full angry and got it removed, so that's how we met, actually.
Kailash, what about you? And you've had your journey, right? PhD in AI, somebody who didn't want to take the corporate job, and then you land here. What happened? What did Nithin do to you?
So I was in the UK for 6 years, and university, went there to study, ended up doing research, all unplanned, all coincidences, serendipitous. And the moment I finished it all, I immediately came back. Didn't even stay for more than, I think, 3-4 days. Graduation was done. I immediately packed my bags and came back to Calicut. Because that clarity I've always had. I'd gone there to study, again, like I said, accidentally, and the idea was to come back, so I came back. So and by the time I'd finished university, there were n number of opportunities. AI research, the fourth avatar of AI research was just kickstarting in 2010. So there were opportunities there, opportunities in the academia. But I said no to absolutely everything and just packed my bags and came back to Calicut. Because I wanted to sit at home and tinker and build things that I wanted to build. And I knew how to make a modest living online, writing software for the others. So could have been the worst decision of my life, but random coincidence. So I come back to Calicut, and I immediately realized that there's no good internet in Calicut. And then I immediately regretted the decision. So he said, his dad got transferred to Bangalore, complete coincidence. But my coming to Bangalore was not exactly a coincidence in that sense. So I was really distraught that my entire life plan of coming back to Calicut and sitting at home and working was in jeopardy on the second day after coming back to India because there was no good internet. So I spoke to my cousin randomly who happened to be studying here in Jayanagar, and he casually said, "There's good internet in Bangalore. Why don't you move to Bangalore?" And literally on the second day I moved to Bangalore. And prior to that I had no connection to Bangalore. In my whole life I must have been in Bangalore for like 2 or 3 days as a young kid, visiting family. I had no concept of geography, didn't really have a concept of the ecosystem here. I knew it was an IT place, but I had zero plans. But that one conversation, casual conversation, I ended up moving here. And I ended up in South Bangalore, Jayanagar, JP Nagar, because my cousin was there. And I had no concept of the Bangalore geography. Found a place, and I think by the 7th day, I was settled here in JP Nagar. So I keep joking. Just like any other Malayali who comes to Bangalore and never leaves, I was one of those Malayalis. And because we happened to be in South Bangalore, Abid had messaged me. He was my school senior by, I think, 4 years. And we hadn't spoken to each other in a very long time, 10, 15 years. But he randomly messaged me and said, found me on wherever and messaged me and said, "I remember that you used to tinker around with computers in school. Do you still do?" I said, yes. And he was like, where are you in Bangalore? I said, here. And he said, I'm also in South Bangalore. Let's catch up. So we caught up after like 15 years in Bangalore. And he was in finance. And he had this, he'd become jaded and he'd quit finance and he wanted to build this simple retail investment technology. And I had zero connection to capital markets or finance. But this idea appealed to me because as an engineer, I'm always looking, for that excitement of building something new, giving it out, making it useful for others. So that's how it happened. And Abid had another classmate who was involved in this, whose house happened to be 200 meters away from Nithin's first
Zerodha's office.
Yeah. And if I'd moved to, let's say, Malleshwaram or wherever, if my cousin was in some other college, I don't think we would ever have met. So it was a series of coincidences. But I came to Bangalore for internet and I stayed in Bangalore for internet. So when we met, 2012, and I was very apprehensive. So Abid came and said, oh, there's this person called Nithin Bhai. He runs this small firm. And I looked up the website. It's a terrible website. It's an unknown broker. And I kept on telling Abid, this is probably a really bad idea. I don't think, we should partner with someone. We were trying to build tech. We needed a financial partnership. I don't think this is a good idea. But he kept on saying, no, he's a great guy. And he'd only spoken for like 15 minutes in the first meeting, right? So the three of us walk in and then we chat. And I immediately realized that my preconception of Nithin and the finance world, etc., was wrong. I mean,
What
not
was
really
it that he spoke that he turned you around?
Nothing. It's just generally, we just hit it off in the first meeting.
Okay.
He was very casual, just like us, on the level. We were joking. There was nothing pretentious or financial or corporate about that meeting.
Okay.
So I'd made up my mind about the entire corporate industry, and that really turned out to be right. But Zerodha, even in its early avatar, was very different. And we liked, the three of us, when we walked in, we really liked Nithin. And Zerodha was a tiny budding brand, so there wasn't much to
What was it that
understand.
you liked at that point of time? And Nithin was of another era, right? So what was it?
No, I think I keep thinking about it. See, the thing is with Zerodha from day one, right? It's never been in my head like a business. We're never ambitious, like we want to become ICICI or HDFC. It was always about solving for. It started off saying we need to help traders do better with their money. It's evolved over time, but so I don't think, even our first conversations with not just Sensible, anyone, it would always be around how we're going to create impact. It would never be about, who will take this much. Because usually, right, if you have conversations in the world of business, it's always, it ends up becoming how much you get, how much I get,
The
what's
money, the transaction.
right? It's conversations just revolve around that. And it's usually a put-off for me as well. Usually when startups come and they just, when they're pitching today to us, if it all is about how big the industry can grow, what percentage they'll be of that, dude, it's
1 trillion opportunity.
yeah, so I don't think we've done those, Excel projections. I think that way.
It was just straightforward, honest conversation, fun conversation, very casual. So that's when it hit me that even within finance and capital markets, it's possible to, just have,
like normal people.
Yeah, normal people talking about normal stuff in the first meeting, joking about stuff, talking about building technology, talking about doing cool things rather than, whatever else. So the first impression was extremely positive and all of us liked him. And then we met more and more and we decided to partner. We said that Zerodha and Sensible would partner, get approvals, etc. That never really worked out. Like he said, it was too early. And we disbanded after this attempt to build this financial technology after...
The Sensible,
the early version, after like 8-9 months. But by then, we'd done some work and I'd personally understood that there was so much to do here. And I keep citing this. We were starting to see high-quality consumer technology. It was Flipkart, Redbus, etc., right? And it was an exciting era. There were new, cool things, useful technology hitting the markets for end users. And I'd gotten like an insider view of capital markets over 8-9 months. And there was absolutely nothing. It was completely barren. There was nothing happening there. So finding that greenfield for a tinkerer, for an engineer is great motivation. So it's not finance that, really attracted me. It's literally the open landscape where you could build an experiment. And of course, him. So that's what happened.
What are you chasing? What is Zerodha about? What are you chasing? And
Right.
does the fact that Grow has become the largest stockbroker, I read the news, does that bother you?
Right.
Um,
So the chase has evolved over time, right? As in
tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. No, when we started, I was, Nikhil and I, we were like active day traders, right? The chase was for active day traders in this country, the costs are too high, right? And brokers are very opaque in the way they work, like financial service firms. So we need to bring transparency and reduce costs. Then around 2012-13 is when we said we need to now think about products. Karthik joined in 2014, and we said we need to also focus on education because, people in India, don't understand finance well. We need to attempt to solve for it. 2016, we said it's not enough for us only to build products. We need to partner with others and do it. And that's how Rainmatter and the fund and all the investments started. And then it became about reliability, etc. Active. The platforms have to be. We had a lot of dependencies, and over the last, I think, from 2017 to 2020, Kay and the tech team, I think our reliability as a platform went up significantly.
But none of this is about conventional chase of valuation.
Oh no, never.
Money,
Not once have we spoken it internally.
customer.
No, not once have we put a customer goal. Not once have we put a revenue goal in our business, right? As in, like I said earlier, the philosophy is wherever you have to get to in life, you'll get there. But our job is to get up every day and keep
Work
improving.
hard. Yeah.
In some way, right? As in, improve support, improve, products, improve whatever possible.
Now, when you look back, what were some of the important inflection points for Zerodha? Some very, very important decisions that you took. It took Zerodha on a trajectory that, in hindsight, looks like wow, but probably at that point of time you didn't. So,
See, the thing is, starting Zerodha itself, right? Because it was one of our all-in kind of moments in my life, right?
is it 2010, right?
2010, So
Yeah.
because this was really the worst time to start a broking firm, because coming back of the financial crisis of 2008, every broker in the country was doing other things, like all your India Bulls, India and Flying, Motilal, they were getting into asset management, real estate, or wealth management. I mean, they were doing random things, and we were trying to,
And you were naive and trying to do this.
we were just naive. There was no foresight that it'll somehow turn around. So we were being naive, but in hindsight, we just got lucky to have timed it right? Because for almost 6-7 years, people said this business model won't work, right? So a lot of people are trying to catch up over the last 3-4 years especially. But it's hard, because the business is a lot more evolved, and it's hard to suddenly wake up and say, I'll somehow pivot and start doing the business another way.
So you are a stockbroker. You are based in Bangalore,
Okay.
far away from Dalal Street, Bombay.
Yeah.
And this is the tech hub.
Yeah.
What were some of the factors that shaped you? And I'm sure in very distinct ways than stockbrokers in Bombay would be shaped by.
Right. I mean, see, the thing is, when we start, since it's unboxing Bangalore, I need to probably. So when we started, so I was a sub-broker, right, at those times. So I asked a bunch of these brokers, and they said, dude, what are you smoking? I mean, who starts a broking firm in Bangalore? Forget about starting broking firm. The other thing was, who starts a broking firm in Bangalore, right? As in, it has to be in Bombay, right?
So you considered moving?
No, I mean, never. I mean, like I said, it's naivety, as in, it's not like it was some... Moving would have been, I think maybe, it's not even naivety, right? Moving would have been hard. So it's probably a choice out of convenience, right? As in saying, Bangalore is easier place to build. But anyways, I mean, the concept was online business. So, but the thing is, until us, if you're not in Bombay, you had the risk of being categorized as a regional broker. Almost, if you look at brokers who are in, a bunch of brokers who are big in Kerala, big in Chennai, but they've been branded as regional brokers from ever. Even banks, for example, right? A Canara Bank, a Syndicate Bank, a Federal Bank. They've, because they're not, perceived as you're in Bombay, you're almost categorized as a regional bank, right? As in, and so I think looking back, being in Bangalore meant you kind of attracted the right kind of people to come join the business, right? Because, like I said, not having goals means you can't, like, usually when people join the business, right, they come with certain expectations, right? You will be X, Y, Z in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, etc. Bombay, right, people want to know what that is, right? And here we don't, right? As in, like, I've been like, when people come and join, like, especially the last 2-3 years when we become popular, right? When people come to me, they think, my first usual pitch to them was this is a top of a bull market. In a top of a bull market, every broker looks hot. But, like every time the bull market dies, that's when you really get to know, what the business is really made of, etc. So I actually actively undersell the business, and still people come and join. Today, people join for whatever reason, but the fact that we've been able to get the right kind of people join us, I think Bangalore has played a big role in it, right? Across the board, not just in tech, in our ops, in our, across support, etc. The top 100 people, 95 of the people still are in the business. The reason for it is not because we were paying more than everyone else. It was never that. It was just that we gave an atmosphere where people, I think, were generally happy, right?
So you were able to get talent, right?
The right kind of talent for our philosophies.
Right attitude and philosophy. So completely agree with him. We were able to attract the right kind of people. I know, I think we are also in South Bangalore. It's a residential area. So generally the atmosphere is laid back and chilled out. And it may have changed a little bit over the last few years, but 12, 13 years ago. And it was basically that. So that atmosphere also gets to you. If you are in a very aggressive, very commercial environment, it changes how you think, perceive, etc. It attracts a certain kind of people. This was a laid-back residential area, and the culture itself was laid back and built on common sense, not really on Excel sheets. So I think that definitely played a humongous role, attracting the right kind of people, being able to build the culture we built. It probably could not have happened anywhere else but in Bangalore.
Even now, so for like 4-5 years of our journey, we were in a big bungalow, turned into an office. Mm-hmm. And then we moved into an office which is in this residential neighborhood, which is very homely vibe,
The present one, right?
The present one, right? As in, recently now we've been looking for office spaces. Mm-hmm. And we saw a bunch of glass buildings, and we're like, dude, it's not, it doesn't fit the vibe, I was trying to compromise because we quickly needed, to kind of grow. But then, after going and seeing the place, one of the complexes, I was thinking, from far away, it looked really nice. There was greenery around, etc. And as soon as, we drove in, we saw all people with badges, sign here to get in. And, I like, dude, this is not going to work. We didn't even go see the space. We just made a U-turn.
And a U-turn and came back.
So you both have spoken about it at different points of time. What do you look for in your people? And you've spoken about the kind of people you have bring on board is an important way to nurture your culture and, the kind of company you are building. Do you want to talk about that? And I'm sure there has been a journey on that as well. What do you look for in the people that you want to hire, bring on board?
I think, just decent human beings, like it's, like you spend some time, you get to know what is the reason for which this person wants to come work for you, right? As in, if it's about, like, I still remember this person who came and said, I will move with my team and I'll bring X number of customers to you. And I was like, dude, why would I ever hire you? I'm like, like tomorrow you'll probably go like this somewhere else, right? As in, but he felt very weird when I said it, like because that's how, people, like, if you look at wealth management or even, like, people just keep moving. And the more they take their entire team, they take their, we would never want to have someone like that for sure, right? As in, also, we've been very, I don't know, like we keep talking about this, maybe we've built some blind sides because of this, not having leaders from outside.
Not having?
Leaders from outside, okay. Mostly people join, they kind of grow internally, as in.
And why do you think that is important?
Because it's very hard to find leaders who worked a certain way to come, let go of the baggage and adapt to a new way of working. It's really hard, like if people who spend 10, 15 years. But it's also a problem for the business, right? Because some of the skills that we are looking for, it's hard to nurture and groom and be able to do it. But you have to make compromises in life. So, in terms of culture versus saying skill. I mean, I think culture is more important, than skills itself. So I think the way he hires for tech is very different.
You should tell us about how you look at it, Kailash. And I know that you are particular about the kind of people you bring on board as part of a tech team, etc. What have you learned about kind of people you would like to bring on board? What do you look for?
Very similar. So I think this was one of those philosophies where we just aligned from the very beginning that when you bring people on, it should not really be based on metrics, but just common sense, decency, the philosophical alignment, attitude, etc. And the tech team, we've always hired for that. Of course, you need tech skills, but we've never really hired anyone with a lot of industry experience. I think 95% of people in the tech team have never held a job before Zerodha. But they've all been tinkerers. They all knew programming, some people more than others. But there's this, you look for that attitude, that spirit to learn. So somebody who has decent enough skills and who is not supremely skilled at a certain technical thing, if they have the right attitude, they can get there in 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. That's okay. So you don't really hire for massive amounts of skills. I mean, we haven't. But we've hired we've looked for the right amount of skills, but the right attitude to learn. And I think expectations, like he said, is absolutely important. If somebody is coming in to build a career ladder or whatever, it doesn't go with what we are trying to build. So be it tech, product, processes, Zerodha as a business itself, our goal is very long-term and largely abstract. We want to continue existing meaningfully and still make sense and be meaningful to our customers 10 years from now, 15 years from now. You never know what's going to happen, but that's our abstract goal. So you need people who have that long-term vision. So you don't set wrong expectations. You don't attract people by saying, we'll give you X, Y, Z, and in 2 years you will get to, A, B, C, D. No metrics, no goals. So when you put it out there, like he said, he undersells. I also set expectations very clearly. Engineers, a lot of young engineers think that there's this utopian world where you can do cool engineering and innovation every single day, everywhere. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world. There's no tech company in the world where one can work on interesting problems every single day. There are spurts of interesting things to work on, and then it's just maintenance, a lot of grunt work, hard work, tedious work. That is how software technology development works. So I clearly lay it out there saying we are in finance, heavily regulated, we have to do tons of boring things. There's always that 20% interesting innovation that comes like this. But we have fun as a team. This is how the team is flat. And if you're okay with it, let's talk. So typically when you lay it out right there and set the expectations very brutally honestly, the people who tend to remain and be okay with it also tend to be the people who are in it for the long term, for the right reasons. So we look for people who are in it for the right reasons, and it's never 100%, but it's something that has paid off really well. I think we've been 95% accurate with this, gauging people.
Attrition is not that big for you?
It's very, very low. In the tech team, it's close to zero. Even in the rest of the teams, it's extremely low, over the decade plus.
Yeah. No, it's the rest of the team, I think, as we expanded, so the lower skill jobs, right, like the supports, etc. I mean, I think there we were probably a little compromised on this because you want to hire quickly, as in so it's very hard. Like, I'm not interviewing everyone, right? So it's very hard. Like I said, like the way we work is very hard to scale. Like this whole, whatever we have construct in terms of philosophy, culture, etc. And that's one of the reasons why we've said that we don't want to be doing like hazard things. Like we like this space. We think we're helping people do better with the money, right? I mean, that's really the primary goal. I mean, all of these good-looking platforms, education. I mean, all of that is good, but are we helping people do better with the money? And that maybe, we haven't done enough. And that's really what we are trying to solve for today, saying that if someone comes to Zerodha, he materially does better with his money as compared to him having done it on another platform. And it can't be low cost. Like no one is going to do better in life just because the trading costs are lower. It doesn't work like that. I mean, so we have this whole idea around, this initiative called Nudges, which is...
Talk a bit about that.
So it's essentially, see, the thing is, I've done trading for like 20, 25 plus years, and if someone would ask me, Nithin, how do you make money? There is no answer to it. right? I don't know how to make money in the markets. What you can do is, there are these 5, 6 money mistakes. If you can avoid making those money mistakes, you just improve the odds of making money in the market. There is nothing else.
Tell us about the 4, 5 top money mistakes
I mean,
that
like
people
one
do.
is, like diversify, right? I mean, I think the biggest problem with most retail traders is they want to be concentrated, right?
Okay.
Which is they want to make money quickly, right? The problem is that, which is you're coming in here thinking you can somehow make money quickly. So yeah, you need to diversify. So most people don't even understand what diversification is. So if someone is buying only banking stocks in his portfolio, can the platform tell him, "Boss, maybe you should not buy so much banking stock. Maybe you should buy banking and IT, and you need to diversify." 2 is leverage, which is a big problem with most retail traders, which is because you want to make money quickly. If you have 1 lakh rupees, you want to buy for 10 lakh rupees, and because then
So you see a problem with that.
I mean, leverage is WMD. I mean, if you were to ask me what's the one single biggest reason why people lose money in the markets, is leverage, right? So can we somehow nudge people to take lesser leverage?
Okay.
Right? Then you could, just improve their odds of doing well in the market. There is this whole thing called as disposition bias, right? So what happens is, if you have a stock which is making money and stock which is losing money, common sense says that you should sell what loses money and buy more of, or hold on to what is making money. But people do exactly the opposite. They sell what is making money and buy more of what is losing money, right? And it's not even funny how it works. Like it's just normal. I mean, it's just, when you look at, the biggest episode for this was Yes Bank. When Yes Bank fell from 400 rupees to 4 rupees, right? People just sold all the silverware to buy Yes Bank, right? As in, it kept falling and they just wanted to buy more and more of this. Right? So now, can we as a platform avoid, tell people that, dude, this is a bias which is getting you to do it. You shouldn't be doing this, right? Which is averaging down and etc. So yeah, I mean, over trading.
Okay.
See, the thing is, a lot of these nudges that we have in mind is something that will reduce revenue for us and never increase revenue in the shorter term. And this is one of the reasons you don't see any platform in the world doing this, right? I mean, like the first nudge that we launched was around penny stocks. So, at Zerodha, if you want to buy a penny stock, we scare the shit out of you, right? Saying that, dude,
You give reminders.
Not even reminder. When you're placing an order,
block.
we tell him, but this company has no revenues, no profitability. What are you doing buying this, right? And we've reduced, like, our penny stock trading volumes as a percentage of our equity volumes is down by 70%, right? So I mean, we know, think of this way, right? As in, if you're on Amazon and you want to buy an iPhone, and Amazon knows, say, you earn 25,000 rupees a month. If you want to buy a 2 lakh rupee iPhone, Amazon will say, boss, take this loan and buy it.
EMI.
Yeah. But if you were a conscious platform, you should be telling, dude, what are you doing trying to buy an iPhone, right? Now, it's very, like I said, as a business, it's a very hard choice. I personally know, after all the experience, I almost have realized what is right for the investor is hardly ever right for the customer in any business, right? It's like if your goal is to create value for your investor, it always comes at the cost of compromising something for your customer. I mean, it goes against
Everything.
But long term, isn't this what financial companies ideally would be holding as ethos or DNA?
I mean, everyone says it on the website, but no one does it. Like, if you walk into a bank branch today,
Agreed.
you're
Totally
gonna get
agreed.
missold. I mean, their website might say,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
care for my customer is the center of everything. But you'll probably get sold to a bad insurance policy. You'll probably be sold a loan that you shouldn't be taking, and an investment in a product you should not be investing. So it doesn't, it's very hard. And the thing is, it's circumstances that is getting people to do it, right? The CEO has a target, he has next quarterly meeting where he has to project something. If he doesn't project, the share price will fall, right? Now he puts pressure to his first rung of, whatever subordinates. And then, so it's hard. It's like I said, one of the reasons we haven't taken the route of this whole valuation, getting investors on board, etc., is because there was a realization early on that, this freedom that we have ability to be able to say and do these things, it's itself a big moat for us, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, as a business, you need to have an edge somewhere, right? As in, otherwise, just pricing or even product eventually potentially someone can catch up. But this philosophy, I think will be very hard to catch up, especially for competitors who have investors on board and where they have the pressure of growing users, growing revenue, because they'll always have to end up compromising what's wrong, what's right for the customer.
Coming back to the question, what did grow becoming the number one stockbroker? Did it put any pressure on the biggest guy who was there for some time?
I don't look up to any businesses out there, anywhere in the world as a role model or anything to look up to. But I do look at quality engineering.
Now, some people look at me as their role models, but I know they're going to be disappointed if they spend enough time with me. Everyone's got imperfections. Everyone has this whole cut, copy, paste way of thinking how business. Now, you need to do a seed at this valuation, you need to do a Series A at this.
One thing, if you could change about Zerodha's journey.
That's the fundamental nature of a journey, right? It's not scripted. It's all serendipity, random coincidences, luck, etc. So, nothing.
I think social media serves many purposes. And one of the ways I presume it would do for you is also help your role model, right?
And yet social media somehow has deluded people into thinking that you can be in the world's soundscape.
See, the thing is, while I say it's for the business, problem with social media is, all these likes, retweets, whatever, it gives you dopamine hits. There is no doubt about it.
And then he tweets about his six-pack.